Hello, today I am looking at version 2 of the Bildeform add-on for Blender, which is available on Superhive. I bought version 1 of this add-on last year and made a short video about it. The first version of the add-on only made reliefs from 3D models, but version 2 can also make reliefs out of images and has added a new mode. This add-on lets you export a height map, depth map and a curvature map separately. The add-on works with Blender version 4.2 or later. You'll need a GPU that has at least 6 GB of VRAM. The add-on works with Mac OS. It's supported but untested according to the documentation for the add-on. There is extensive documentation for the add-on, and the add-on has contextual help tips within Blender as well if you want to know what the different settings do. The new version has 2 generation modes: Generate with 3D Model and Generate with Image. It's using something called Emoji 2 for the image to relief process. It also has a new mode called DGP, which stands for Discrete Geometry Processing. This generates more realistic and accurate height maps than the other 2 methods in the add-on, which are Franco-Caliper and Kernel approach. The Kernel approach is an advanced Gaussian kernel method. It has better feature preservation and detail enhancement than the Franco-Caliper method. The DGP method is good for the relief from image process and can also be used with the relief from 3D model process. The add-on uses distill any depth for the depth map generation. Once you've generated a relief using either a 3D model or an imported image, the displacement images can be exported. There are up to 13 maps which can be exported, including different combined results of varying intensities. The advantage of having the height map, the depth map and the curvature map separate is you can combine these however you see fit in an image editor such as Photoshop or Affinity Photo as well. I am going to demonstrate the 3D model to relief using Bildeform version 2. First, I have to import an object into Blender. If I had a scene of several objects, I could use that as well. For this example, I'm going to use a squirrel holding an acorn which I made in ZBrush last year. I right-click and select Shade Smooth, which will smooth out any jagged geometry and make it look nicer for the relief result. Pressing N brings up the sidebar menu, where you will see the Bildeform panel when it's installed. I can set a camera by pressing this button, or I can use an existing camera if I was doing a relief of an existing scene in Blender that already had a camera. Then I need to remember to select my object in the Bildeform target menu. The view is now locked onto the object. I can position the squirrel a bit easier using the navigation controls in Blender. Because it's a 3D object, I can choose any angle I want, and I could also change the camera to orthographic view if I needed that. The add-on will work fine with perspective or an orthographic camera. Once I've got the squirrel positioned how I want it, I'll disable the camera lock by using the view and deselecting camera to view. This is so I don't accidentally change it later if I need to do another relief in a different mode. As for the options, I'll leave them at the default values. I want to demonstrate the kernel approach first. I need to press this button, Generate Bas Relief. Once you've pressed the Generate Bas Relief button, you have to wait for it to process. Once finished, it will have made a height map image for the 3D model and made depth and curvature maps. It also makes a preview mesh of the result where you can change the values to make it look better. I like to export the height map, the depth map and the curvature and then edit them in Affinity Photo and use the combined result rather than using this. But if I want to see how it might look a bit better, I need to tweak these values. Using the BGP curvature will give a nicer result than the other 2. Pressing Export will export 13 maps, or just the ones you want to select. The main ones you need are the height map, the depth map and the curvature BGP. You need to select where to save them and then press Export Maps. The maps will export as 16-bit grayscale PNG. Now I want to generate another height map, but use the DGP mode. Pressing the bin icon next to Generate Bas Relief resets the scene. I'll leave all the values at the defaults, but I want to change it to the DGP mode. The only thing I'm going to change is the blur radius. Because this is a 3D model, I want to turn this to 0. I'll be editing the depth, height and curvature map in Affinity later, and I'll add a Gaussian blur manually. Pressing Generate Bas Relief starts the process again. The DGP method takes a bit longer than the kernel approach method. I'll export this height map and I'll compare the results to the kernel approach later. There are 13 image exports with the Bildeform add-on you can save as 16-bit grayscale images. The main ones I use are the height map, the depth map and the BGP curvature map. The height map result changes depending on the mode you used in the add-on, whether it was Franco-Cellular, kernel approach or DPG mode. The add-on provides separate curvature types and combined results for you to use. These give different displacement results. What I like to do is to combine the height, the depth and the curvature into one map. I find this gives a nice displacement result in Blender. I've imported the texture maps I want to combine into Affinity Photo. These are maps for the height, the depth and the curvature. I set the depth to soft light 50%. Then I set the curvature BGP to soft light 50%. Then I add an effect for Gaussian blur onto the curvature, and I just want it subtle, so I put 0.5. Now I can export this as an image and use it in any other software. The software I'll be using it in is Blender. As an aside, different strengths of the curvature will bring out the details more or less. On the left here, this uses the kernel approach height map. It has the depth map set to 50% at soft light. The curvature BGP was set to 50% and uses soft light and has a Gaussian FX 0.5 pixels on it. This one on the right is the same, except the curvature is set to 100% opacity. I've done the same here, but the height map is using the DGP mode. For this demonstration, I'm using an image from Pexels. This is a Phoenix line drawing. It's got a watercolor wash. It's quite a flat looking image. This version of the image is as it is, but against a black background. And this one I've edited to put a white border around. I'm going to try out the image to bas relief generation in Blender with Bildeform. So I press N to bring up this menu here, and then I need to find the Bildeform panel. I need to select Generate with Image, and I will select the image I just showed you. So the first one I want to try is the one without a border. I'm going to leave these settings as they are. The only setting I'm going to change is this one here. I'm going to select DGP. This will take a while to process. It depends on the speed of your GPU and how much RAM you've got. So for the image without a border, I can see that the result isn't great for this particular example. Even though I would usually change these preview settings, I can see that there's areas that are missing. Apart from that, I can see that it has picked up details quite well. I think the main problem is on the outside edges of this image, they're quite low contrast, so perhaps it just hasn't picked them up. That's where I got the idea to put a white border around it to see if that would help the algorithm a bit more. I'm going to delete this and try with the image with a white border. I can see that this has picked up more of the detail. In fact, I think the outline looks much better. If I change these settings, we can see a bit better. So that has dealt with the image a lot better. The height map looks a lot more cohesive. So this is the height map. and this is the curvature map, and this is showing that it has picked up most of the details. This is the inverted map of that one. The main curvature map that is useful is this BGP map. So what I will do with this now is take that into a photo editing program, because I need to use the original image as a mask to get rid of these white lines from the white border. I am in Affinity Photo and I'm going to edit that Phoenix picture that I just generated. So I need the height map and I need the depth map, and I've got snapping enabled to page layouts so I can line that up. Then I need to drag in the curvature BGP map. Now I need the original image without the black background to use as a mask, so I'm going to drag that in. It looks grayscale because this file is set to a 16-bit grayscale, which is what Bildeform exports the maps in. So I'm lining that up, and I'm going to press Ctrl over the little thumbnail for the image there, which creates a selection. Then on this curvature, and I'm just going to unlock that because I want to add these to a group. But I'll click on this curvature map here and then I'll create a mask layer. Now I can hide the original image which I've used to generate that selection mask. I want to deselect that, and then I need to create another layer to use as the black background. So this is the height map, and then I've got the depth map on top of that, and then I've got the curvature map on top of that. I'm going to set the depth map to soft light and put it at 50%. Then I'm going to set the curvature to soft light and put that at 50%. And what I'm also going to do is go to the layer effects and add a Gaussian blur to the curvature layer. But I only want a little bit of Gaussian blur, so I'm going to put 0.5 pixels. That just softens things out a little bit, so it will make a nicer result for the displacement in Blender. In fact, I could put it down a bit more if I wanted the details to stand out a bit more. It really depends on personal preference or what you're trying to achieve, as do these opacity settings. So now I have to save that by exporting this as an image. If you didn't want to combine the maps manually, you can use the combined maps instead, but because I put a white border around it, I still need to get the original image and use that as a mask. So that just removes the fuzzy white effect around it, which I don't really want. Thanks for watching.